It's kind of like how you trick your kids eating vegetables. Put them on a pizza, they're going to eat it anyway. So we're doing the. Not saying that chefs are kids, but well, I can say that I was one. We are temperamental children. It's a way of tricking chefs into doing that work that they want to do. So my profit pot is kind of my rainy day fund as well for when, not if shit goes wrong, it's when shit does hit the fan, because we are talking about hospitality. It's not a case of if it goes wrong, it's a case of when it breaks.
Okay, so welcome to the London Food Network podcast. My name is Sebastian Candelon, and today I'm joined by Gareth Evans from Evans & Co. Accountancy. And very keen to speak to you, Gareth. How are you today?
Yeah, apart from falling out with every bit of technology on my desk, I'm not dead, which is a bonus. Yeah, it's going all right. I'll stop being pessimistic now that we're recording. Nobody wants to listen to me droning on for an hour.
I think, like I said, like we were talking about before the podcast, I think your chefing colours are shining through even into your accountancy hat you wear these days, which is particularly what I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you about that. So, it's unusual for someone that's kind of built a career in the chefing world to have ended up as an accountant. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's been a chef. And believe me, I've met a lot of chefs that have become all sorts of things. But I've never met a chef that's become an accountant. So I think that's a very interesting initial kind of conversation, if you don't mind. Just kind of walk us through firstly, how you became a chef and what pushed you out the other side as an accountant.
Yeah, so kind of from the beginning, I'd done what everybody else had done. I'd done the McDonald's bits, had done my part-time stuff here and there. I then ended up working for Royal Bank of Scotland. Then I hated it. It was salesy, and now 90% of my job is sales, so it's kind of done a bit of a U-turn. And then I saw a thing come up for kitchen manager, Wetherspoons, and Wetherspoons had this thing about recruiting from places with a great customer service background. So I thought, you know what, sod it, I'll apply. I applied as bar manager because when you're that's every teenager's kind of dream, or it was pre-COVID, wasn't it? I want to work in a bar, more pints, pull pints, drink pints. And that's kind of the only goal you have at that age, isn't it? If you're not, you want to be on either side of the bar, basically. I went to interview and they said, actually, we think you're better suited to kitchen manager. I took that as a compliment at that time, but, looking back now, I don't think it was. But that Wetherspoons kind of gives you the background in, not necessarily how to cost anything, because it's not up to you, but this is how you do a stock count. This is how you budget for a rota. This is how you do, if you want a new microwave, well, you've got to do a cost to benefit analysis. And I didn't realise until I started my studies in accountancy that was an accounting thing. Everything is driven by metrics when you're in Wetherspoons. And then I did a bit of time in there, and from that it was then I went straight into a fresh kitchen, no ping and ding. Got that job because the GM, oh Christ, I forget what brand it was, but the GM of that brand, he had a silver service background. He was a qualified chef, and he said, like, I'll teach you how to cook if you can do all of the other bits in the background. I'm like, yeah. All the bits are easy. I can manage a kitchen. I couldn't make garlic bread at the time, so I learned quite a bit from him. Fresh produce, how to hold a knife, the whole thing, and then it just kind of almost, it's a love-hate relationship. It kind of went from there to the next one and the next one and the next one. And after a good few years of doing everything everywhere, I found out there are much preferred working for independents, where you can put a lot of the spin on it yourself. And I also mistakenly thought, working for a small business, they're gonna listen, because it's a small team. There's very few of you in there. More often than not, the business owner knows nothing about a kitchen. They've worked in a bar, they've run a bar, they've managed a huge operation, but they've never set foot in a kitchen before. So I thought, these people will listen. And truth be told, they didn't. And one of the last places I'd worked at, which is when I started studying accountancy, going through my AAT, I remember they had a management accountant that came over every month, stayed in their hotel for a couple of nights, and he sat down, went through the figures, told them where they were going wrong, where they were going right, what they needed to change. And I remember having a chat with him, and he'd never worked in a kitchen in his life. And I thought, hang on a minute, this guy's getting paid like £1,000 a month to come here for 2 days and to tell them where we're going wrong in our job. And all of the suggestions he was coming out with were things that myself and other team members had been preaching for years across all of the venues that we worked in. If we just did it this way, we'd save time. If we just did it that way, we'd save money. If we ordered from here instead of there, we'd get a better produce, the delivery would come in at the right time, and we wouldn't need to be hanging around at 6 o'clock in the morning praying to God that the fishman hadn't been and dropped her off on the doorstep at 4 o'clock on a summer morning. So it was kind of from there, and I thought, I know all of this kind of advisory bit, even if I didn't know that that's what it was called at the time. I know this bit, I just don't know the other side of it. There's got to be a way where I can do it together. And it was my wife she was looking into accountancy just to do something different and be closer to home. So she looked at it and went, she's very much a dip a toe in the water kind of person. I looked at it and went, fucking hell, yeah. They look like they make loads of money and have a really easy life. I'm going to go and do that. Truth be told, no, it's the same story for every business owner. Nobody's minted. And life is not easy, but I dove into it, carried on working in kitchens while I was studying. So I'd finish at 11, 12 o'clock at night, go home, get the books out, managed to do my level 2, 3, and then 4 AAT. Was doing level 4 in the year that we got married, moved house and had a baby, managed to get some experience a day a week working in accounts department. And then 3 months in, they said, you want a job? Took a massive pay cut coming out the kitchen to go and do it. But fortunately, that was about 6, 7 months before the world stopped turning.
Oh, wow.
And I was loving life. I had my boss saying, oh yeah, just come away from home, pick up the laptop, off you go. I'm like, what is this madness? You're going to trust me to do all of this work from home? He's like, well,
Nice.
Yeah, you're an adult. Because I'd never had that kind of thing before. I didn't know that computers could have 2 screens on them, let alone that you could do a job from anywhere but a workplace. And we carried on with that. And then I'd finished my studies, I'd had my license signed off, and was to kind of slowly build up a client base. But I was looking at it thinking, it's COVID. What am I going to do? Long and short, my wife worked in the NHS, so that was obviously all hands on deck. My employer at the time had said, no, everybody's got to come back into the office. And I kind of said, well, how do you expect me to do that? You know, she's now doing 5 days a week in Shrewsbury, and we're near Liverpool. So she's doing 80 odd miles a day, traveling back and forth.
Wow.
Well, 80 miles there and 80 miles back every day.
Really?
It's where she did a placement at uni and where she stayed, and that was. But yeah, so I looked at it and went, I can't do that. We've got no one to look after the kids, and like there's a global pandemic going on. We can't have the kids ferrying around to different places. I can't do 9 till 5 in an office that's realistically takes me 2 hours of a morning to get to. Crossing through every fucking motorway known to man to get into Manchester. So me and my wife sat down, and she's the most pragmatic person I've ever known and doesn't like risk. And she went, quit. I'm like, well, okay. She went, yeah, we'll be fine. We've got about 9 months worth of savings in there because her job paid well. None of the savings were mine. I had naff all. She was like, we've got about 9 months. If you can't find clients by that point, carry on doing it. But, you know, find a job just doing anything. Go back to chefing for a bit, go to Tesco, whatever. Find something that fits around it. But fortunately enough, I managed to find a couple of clients quite early on. They weren't the best, but it was a pandemic, and you know it yourself, when you start a business, you take on
absolutely
anything and everything. But we cut back on all of our spending. We fortunately only had to dip into our savings for about 300 quid at Christmas. I spent from September 2020 through to March 21 just literally posting advice in hospitality groups and nothing else. Anybody had a query, I answered it. A lot of other accountants were, I don't mean ignoring things. It was COVID was new to them. It was a massive change. It was new to me, but I didn't have any kind of background to go, oh, I don't know about that because this is so different to how I'm used to working. It was just brand new. I was in the same boat as everybody else.
Yeah.
helping wherever I could. And then when the government announced that they were starting to lift restrictions, I went from the one client that we had that we've been supporting and undoing a load of mess on through to, holy shit, I need to employ someone now. So yeah, mid-April, my mum quit her job to come and give me some admin support. Then 4 weeks after that, my mother-in-law quit her job to start
Wow.
working on payroll. 3 months after that, Claire came to work for me. Claire's still with me now. Mother-in-law runs payroll for like 600-700 people and absolutely flies at it. My mum retired last year. We got to the point last year at the same time where my wife could leave the NHS. And yeah, there's
That's incredible.
as with any business, there's been ups and downs, but now we're at 7 and currently recruiting 8 and 9, and it'll likely be number 10 in the new year. Fortunately, we've built a wonderful client base with a great set of like bars and restaurants that they want to grow, they want to expand. They're a similar age to me.
Nice.
They've either already got kids that are, in school and whatever, or they've not yet started a family, so they've got the time to put into their businesses. And yeah, I've got the background to help, so it's going nice. It's going nice. That's not a phrase in English, is it?
It's a bit sort
Yeah, it's going well. It has its ups and downs as with any business, and we've had our points over the years where things have gone to shit and we lost 50% of
yeah.
our income within a month.
Wow.
Yeah, too many eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
parted ways with our largest client, and sorry, I know I'm scattered all over the place here and leading the conversation, so pretty much interrupt whenever you
No, no, do you
want.
know what? You're covering
Um,
pretty much exactly what I would be
but,
asking anyway. So please go ahead. I think it's,
oh Christ,
yeah, carry on because
it's
I mean, it's amazing. So just so I know clearly, so you started on your own post COVID,
no September 2020.
all right? Just before. Oh no,
Oh,
September 20. Oh, okay, fine. So
September
like
20,
literally
right in the
right in the
middle of,
middle of it,
yeah,
really.
right in the middle of it. I
Blimey.
thought, you know
And
what, be
fast
a really
forward
good
five
idea.
five years later, and here you are employing your ninth teammate. That's incredible. And your wife's able to leave the NHS 80 miles a day driving. You've kind of got the family in. You've got demand. You've reshaped your business. That's a lot in 5 years. That's incredible.
I love change. And I know that I'll get the rosy bits out of the way first, and then we'll talk about the bits that are not so rosy, if you like. Again, I'll try and limit my swearing because I know you're putting this on various platforms. So the rosy bits are this year. I've had my own solo trip away to Menorca, which was wonderful. No kids, no wife. Sounds horrible. It was wonderful not to go with my family, but we've got 3 kids, so it's wonderful when you can get a break. But
Yeah.
all in all, I think we've had like 9. Yeah, we've had 9 holidays this year. It's been great. 5 of them have been in the 6 of them have been in the UK. Whether it's a week here or 4 days there. We've had 3 abroad. My wife's going away in a couple of weeks' time on her own. I've got a weekend away booked next month. We've all got a trip booked away in October. She's got one in November. I'm going to book another one, and that's the rosy side of it. The side of it that business gurus don't talk about is last year when we lost just shy of 50% of our revenue. That was after my wife had already put in a notice for the NHS.
Well,
So
blimey.
that was
Well, let's
that
go.
was
Let's dive
scary.
into that. So what happened? What happened?
So I can't go into loads of detail on it because a lot of it's covered under GDPR and whatnot. But base of it was we had a very large client. I'd put too many eggs in one basket,
Um,
and we were failing them. Started working with about 140 different clients, and it was just too
blimey.
much. So we had a conversation, decided mutually to part ways. We had kind of a 3-month transition period for it where the new guys took over, but I'd put too many of my eggs in one basket, and they accounted for about 40% of our revenue in total. When that was going out, fortunately, I had a little bit of a waiting list waiting to come in. Taking clients on is one thing. Boarding a mammoth entity that we had was another. That took all of my capacity and another member of the team. It took us out for a month trying to sort that handover.
Describe to me, just because for you, obviously, you know what the problems were, but from a listener's point of view. So, because what you described as your problem, which of course is unique to you, is actually a very common problem. I've suffered that not just once, but probably a few times. Like it's a very common problem, particularly when you start out, and it's difficult to try and advise people on it because until you go through it, it's tough. But I'm sure listeners would love to know, how did you end up depending on, the one client for such a big chunk of your turnover? And what was the lessons you learned from that? That's the
Uh,
important. Yeah, like what lessons were learned that you were able to apply to kind of future proof that from happening?
yeah, of course. Well, they were one of the first clients that we'd taken on as restrictions were lifting. They already had a decent sized site in Liverpool. They were about to open two more like concessions in Manchester. We were looking at a fourth site in Manchester. It turned out that some of the other business partners involved had their own set of restaurants in London already. So when I took over the initial piece, that went from 1 to 4 within about 2 months. Then it went from 4 to 8 within another 6 months, and then they opened again. By that point, within the space of a couple of years, they were up to 10 to 12 sites. So obviously I just looked at it as a revenue gain and went, yeah,
Of
I'll
course,
take it. We
of
want
course.
more. I didn't want to lose what I'd already built, because from the
Mm,
off, that was a huge chunk of, it was already a huge chunk of my revenue. And yeah, you hear it from a lot of places, a lot of gurus, and especially in accountancy, don't work with people you're not happy working with. Take the
mm,
hit, lose the
yeah,
revenue,
yeah, yeah,
and it's bullshit. I'm
yeah.
married with 3 kids, mate. I've got a mortgage. I can't just decide to not service a client like that anymore because I've got a house to pay for. I, I, I fully appreciate where people come from when they say, only work with people you want to work with. But
Mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm,
that wild assumption is that you've
yeah,
got enough cash in the bank to be able to just do
yeah,
whatever you
absolutely.
please and do what you want. And you don't. 99.9% of us can't. And the people that are saying things like that either have built multiple businesses and have a significant amount of cash in the bank, or they've got another household income to fall back on, which we didn't.
Yeah,
It got to that point where we did lose 40% of that revenue. We were offboarding a client, and I onboard a shed load more. I had to have a serious conversation with myself and go, well, I had to look at what we've got, and I could either, it came down to 2 things. I could either speak to my wife and say, I don't know how I'm going to pay the mortgage next month, or I could speak to the existing clients that we had and say, like, look, guys, we've never reviewed our pricing, which is another bad thing. We've never increased what we're doing. Here's what you are paying for. Here's where you are. Things have got to change, and they've got to change from next month, and we did. So with the new clients that we had coming in off our waiting list, which completely abolished our waiting list, by the way. We had nothing else in the pipeline after that.
yeah,
Between those new clients coming in and the existing clients that we increased the pricing for, it was fortunately, we had about a 6-week dip where it genuinely looked like we weren't going to be able to pull through. And again, I know all of these gurus tell you to have 3 months worth of cash in the bank to cover
yeah,
everything. But again, if I had 3 months worth of cash, you wouldn't be bloody worried anyway, would you? Or you'd do what every other business owner does, and you'd spend it because you've got 3 months worth of cash in the bank.
yeah, of course. And
That,
especially in the beginning, you're
yeah,
trying to scale, you're trying to grow, and you need the cash.
yeah, that's it. And I didn't know any different. I followed what everybody else's advice was, just plow the money back in, reinvest, reinvest,
Right.
reinvest.
Mm.
But my biggest takeaway from that reinvestment piece was that it's nonsense. You've got to be profitable regardless. You've got to have money in the bank.
Right.
Reinvestment means jack shit. Reinvestment is basically, it's a coward's way of saying, I don't have enough to carry on this business and take a wage and be profitable. Because that's all we're doing by saying reinvesting. I'll plow it back in. I'll plow it back in. I'm not plowing it back in. It means I haven't got enough money to pay the bills. So that money I've just taken to live off, I'm going to have to put back in. It's nonsense. If you're running a business, it's got to be profitable from day one, not day
Yeah.
101, not year 4. It's crap. Agreed. There are exceptions to the rule. If you've got into tech and you're getting significant backing, you go
Yeah, of
into
course.
R&D, all of that. Yeah. Really, really different.
I know, but
That's
we're talking about hospitality, we're
yeah.
talking about food businesses here, we're talking about businesses that suffer the same fate. What was your kind of like 3 key takeaways from that then? What did you, what's the wisdom you gained and applied to kind of
It was.
mitigate that in the future? And what would you advise other people? What are the three things you would tell other people to?
So probably a bit of backwards advice is, yeah, do it anyway, make the mistake, because me telling you to slow it down, and that I made this horrible mistake and what you should do is do it organically, it's the same bullshit that everybody else spouts, in it. No, you're going to do it. You're going to take on a big client and you are going to come close to failure. But I genuinely believe that the only reason that we're nowhere near that point ever again is because I did make that mistake. And again, I know it's an adage, but mistakes are the best learning curves. We were
Really?
lucky that mistake didn't shut the business down. And that's why we're still here. A lot of luck,
Yeah.
a lot of hard graft, but it was 50-50, yeah, to take on a massive client, live off it for a bit, and when they go, don't be surprised that it is going to sting and you're going to have to do something very, very quickly to change it. And I know that may come across as really poor advice, but I'd rather be honest in the advice or opinion that I'm giving than do the usual go slow. You'll be fine. Build it over a period of time, because you may not have a period of time to give to build it over. You may be like I was. We had a little bit of money in savings, but we're not rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have a fallback plan in the same
But
sense.
would you advise businesses to get to? Because I'm the same. I'm 42 years old, and you're trying to build this kind of cushion, of course, and I see the value in it now. So would you say that's a good thing to try and accumulate a little bit of a cushion as a business at the very least to kind of weather a storm, or at least part of a storm, because storms
Yeah,
come.
yeah, yeah.
That's inevitable. Businesses are hardly ever linear. There is always something that's going to set you back. And is it better to have, full speed ahead and as the problem comes, you resolve? Or is it better to think, okay, well, actually, let's build a pot and then we've got that safety net. And then your kind of mindset might change as well because you've got the safety net and you're a bit more less risky maybe
Mm.
because you've got a bit of a cushion. You know that you've got something to fall back on, so you don't necessarily make bad decisions as much, or the decisions that you later regret.
Well, okay, I'll let me revise what I said from make mistakes, fuck it and find out, to make mistakes but have at least something to fall back on for those mistakes that you do make. And without turning it into a sales plug, that is a big chunk of what we walk clients through anyways, is having those separate pots. So when I get money coming into my bank, and we've got about 15 clients doing this exactly the same way at the moment. I use Monzo and Starling. I don't recommend them because I can't recommend financial products and so on and so forth and all that nonsense. I use them because when money comes into my Starling account, I've got my predetermined percentages that split it into the different pots, or excuse me, Starling
Mm,
calls them. So I know that roughly 14% of my turnover goes to the VAT man. Obviously, you've got your output VAT minus your input VAT
yeah,
is
of
what you
course.
actually pay over.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's about 14% of my revenue goes straight into a pot for that. I know that about, let's just call it 5% of my total revenue goes on corporation tax.
yeah.
That's probably the only one I don't remember off the top of my head. I know that 50% of my turnover after that goes. That's my staff
Wages.
bill. So I have all of them preset numbers that when the money hits my bank account, it goes
Yeah,
straight into separate pots.
yeah.
But my most important ones are my shiny object pot, because I
Okay.
like trying new stuff and taking out new software. And last year it put a hole in my budget, I'll tell you. And I have my most important one is my profit pot. So my profit pot is kind of my rainy day fund as well, for when, not if shit goes wrong, it's when shit does hit the fan, because we
Yeah, of
are
course.
talking about hospitality. It's not a case of if it goes wrong, it's a case of
Yeah,
when it
yeah.
breaks. So
Yeah,
for
and
us, yeah,
hospitality, absolutely. The overheads are so bloody big on hospitality and the margins are so tight these days that I think more than ever now, with the wage increases, overheads, essentially your cost of sales gone up enormously in the hospitality and food sector. I think, we've suffered. Like, for example, recently, all of our vans broke down at the same time, and it's like, how could you possibly prepare for that? But it happens, so it's just good to at least have a cushion because you don't know what the next problem is going to be and where you're going to have to dig deep from to get yourself out of that
well,
pickle.
that's it. But I suppose for looking at it from like your business perspective, let's say you've got 4 vans on the road and your annual average maintenance charges
Yeah.
are 6K, let's say you do £100,000 a year, just pulling numbers out there,
Yeah, yeah,
6% of all your income is going to go on fixing them vans.
yeah,
So
yeah,
for me, every deposit that hits your bank account, I'd make sure that 6% went straight into that maintenance pot.
yeah,
Hospitality, while it's it's unpredictably predictable, you know everything that you've got in that restaurant is going to break at some point.
yeah, exactly.
We know what the average life expectancy is for quite a lot of those assets, because obviously as an accountant, we see them come in, we've got to record them, we've got to depreciate them, and we know when they get sold or binned off, because we know when the next one comes
Yeah,
in.
of course.
So we look at that for clients and go, well, that salamander grill that you've got, you had that for 3 years. It was secondhand. It was 5 years old when you got it. That lasts 8 years. So I know over the next 8 years, you've got to put away £1,000 a year to pay for the next one. Just as an example, £1,000 a year is £83 a month. So we know for that one bit of kit that you need to run the business, it costs you £83 a month over its life. All right. Next one. What have we got? We've got a rationale. Poor choice, unless you're a huge turnover restaurant. I love them, but they're so expensive.
Yeah,
But
very.
again,
But they're
we
amazing. They're
oh
amazing.
yeah. We've got the data there to look at it and go, we know what you're spending on repairs and maintenance. You know what you're spending on repairs and maintenance to your accounts. So we look at all of that and go, okay, we need a plant and machinery or an equipment pot. So let's chuck that to the side as well, because it's all money that you are going to have to find at some point and you are going to have to spend somewhere. So we divide it out as honestly as best as humanly possible. And for me personally, that's been a lifesaver. So I started doing all of that last year, and for the first time ever, my last VAT quarter ending 30th of June. By the 30th of June, I had enough money in there to pay my VAT bill that was due on 7th of August.
Nice.
And that's, whereas again, you know it yourself, and every hospitality owner listening, they're either behind on the VAT, just scraping it, or they are literally waiting for money to come through on the 5th or the
Yeah,
6th
yeah,
that then goes over to paying it.
yeah. Well, that leads me to my next question. I mean, obviously, hospitality is going through or has gone through some real struggles the last, well, five years for sure. What are your typical what would be your three most kind of common problems, or what are the challenges that are most present at the moment in hospitality?
So I'm going to say it depends. So as with any sector, you've got your either small, not necessarily small, medium and large. It's more so the way price banding works. You've got your, I don't want to call it cheap, but let's go with inexpensive, middle ground and top end. With our inexpensive places and our top end places, nothing's wrong. Our top end places, you know, that have like an average spend per head of £75, £80, doing wonderfully. People who've got money to go out and spend on
Yeah,
hospitality have still got money. They've done, interest rates have gone through the roof over the past couple of years.
yeah,
If they've got money in the bank, they've got more money to go out and spend. The people at the bottom end, again, doing really, really well, because your middle class and your working class have been
yeah,
squeezed ferociously over the past 5 years, same as hospitality. So again, what we've seen is for our places that deal with volume, I don't want to call it volume over value, but
yeah,
it's kind of what it is. They deal in volume. That's their business model. Again, doing exceedingly well. They're busy and people are spending more money with them, and we've seen their average spend per head go up. The primary driver I've seen behind that is they tend to be the places that are a little bit cheaper and tend to attract more students. What happened with minimum wage this year? Massive bump for people aged 18 to 20. They've got the cash to go out and drink or to go out and
yeah,
eat. What we've seen being squeezed more and more is it's that middle ground place, that place that has the kind of £20 to £25
yeah,
average spend per head. People are going out less frequently. So if you look at it this way, I can either get my kids out once a month to an okayish restaurant, or I can get them out 3 times a month for a takeaway. Well, I'm getting them kids out the house 3 times a month because they're going to destroy everything in the house otherwise. And let's face it, going out to eat with kids is never fun.
No, absolutely. And they don't appreciate the difference. I've got 3 kids. I can take them to a top end place, or I could take them to bloody McDonald's. And I tell you what, where would they choose? McDonald's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But even that's creeping up in price now, isn't it? we've got restaurants. Well, we've got QSR restaurants that we look after that are now cheaper than going to bloody McDonald's, or
Wow,
the same price. So
that's crazy.
we've seen with some of those guys in Liverpool that their sales have gone up astronomically because McDonald's are catching them up on price. So would I rather spend £8 on a Big Mac meal or
Mhm.
£10 on going to an independent where I know it's done fresh, not frozen.
Yeah, yeah,
It's something different, something a bit quirky.
yeah.
If I'm going to
I
spend the
know it's
extra
a
two,
bit,
yeah,
and it feels
you
nicer as well to go there,
it
of
it
course.
feels nicer, and you're going to get a better product 99% of the
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
I love Mackey's. It's standardized. You know what you're going to get each and every time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially if you go
Incredible.
between the hours of 12 and 2 and 5 and 7.
Exactly.
That's the mystery shop hours. So you know it's going to be spot on during those times.
Yeah,
Yeah, going back to it. So what we're seeing especially is the middle ground is being eroded. We've seen since COVID that people are much more focused on what experience can I have rather than
yeah,
what am I going to spend.
yes.
So, as an example, one of my clients, Liverpool Art Bar, they've got two sites in Liverpool and they hit two boxes. One, it's inexpensive. Two, it's a massive eclectic mix of people, especially students whose
Right.
income has gone up this year. And three, they're an experienced venue. So they've nailed three key points there. So they can expand. They can change it. Some of our other clients in Liverpool, we've got a guy who owns four separate venues, all completely different branded. He's got them in close proximity to each other. Originally, it was so that he didn't have to walk far when he was working in them. Now he's got that kind of cross-pollination of staff. Oh
Nice.
crap, I need you in there in 2 hours today,
Right,
run
right.
over there.
That's helpful.
So we've found our guys that have got multiple sites are again dramatically increasing because they're leveraging what they've got in four different places.
Yeah.
It's not so much a buying power thing, which is a question that often comes up. We deal with the buying power. We're looking after 30 million a year worth of cost of goods. So when our clients go to suppliers, we go to suppliers for them, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So we try and keep everything uniform. It helps us when we're reconciling stuff in the accounts and doing our job, but it helps the client because they know Dave down the road is getting exactly the same price that they are for exactly the same thing, and they might be 50% smaller than Dave. So it's kind of helps. But I'm
Nice. That's
sorry,
got a big bonus. So you offer that as a service in your accountancy. You actually go to suppliers yourselves to negotiate on the pricing.
we now use a procurement company for it, but for us, it works well. It's, yeah, we've got this across the board. We're spending, instead of you having to go to breaks and saying we spend 20 grand a year on chicken, 10 grand a year on flour, all stuff like that, we just chuck all of the invoices over to the procurement company. They don't charge us or the clients anything. They'll then go to whatever suppliers they're using and go, like, collectively, this is what we're buying and this is what we want. We want to make sure that we have every client on
The
the
best price.
same, the same kind of discount rate
Mm-hmm.
as our highest turnover client. If we can do that, then
Well,
all of our,
it's a
yeah,
smart way to do it actually, because then it takes away the pressure from the smaller places as well. They don't have the time nor the infrastructure to be able to kind of constantly, because you know what it's like with food, all these suppliers, but back when we used to deal with restaurants, we used to always lose accounts because the other fish supplier promised them this price, 50p a kilo cheaper, but before you know it, within a couple of weeks that price has gone back up because you stop checking the price. You don't have that infrastructure to continuously chase and make sure that you're paying for what you should be paying for.
it's absolutely, you're absolutely right. And one of my biggest faux pas with hospitality, because this is something I did religiously, stock counts. No one
Yeah,
does them, or they
yeah.
have somebody external doing them.
Mhm.
Again, I know loads of great external stock takers, but my biggest issue with it is if your GP is struggling and you're waiting for somebody to come in every 4 to 6 weeks to tell you that it's crap, well, you're basically going, I know it's rubbish, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I'll just wait for the
Yeah,
next report. I always did my stock counts on a weekly basis, Sunday night, Monday morning, worked out what my actual GP was rather than a theoretical one.
yeah.
And that is something I did religiously, and I try and hammer into clients all the time. Because for me, if you're running a 500,000, let's call it 500,000 net restaurant, and your GP is off by 5%, that's what,
It's a huge amount.
25 grand that you're missing.
Yeah, yeah, it's a huge amount, and 500,000 is not a lot of money either. I mean, it's as in for restaurant turnover, so it's a lot of
That's,
money
yeah,
as well. Your bottom line, because the bottom line is so small that
oh, Christ, yeah. And being off by 5% is probably giving that a little bit more grace than it actually is. We see a lot of places that when they move over to us, we'll have a chat and go, okay, what's your target GP? Like, oh, well, I think it's between 70 and 75%. I'm like, that's not a target. That's a ballpark, mate. What target are you aiming for on food? What target are you aiming for on drink? What's your split between food and drink? A lot of the time, they don't know. We try and make a point of having all of our clients knowing what their numbers are, but I fully appreciate if you've been a chef all your life and decided to open a restaurant and times are getting hard, the first thing that they all do is they
yeah,
put their head down and think, you know what? I'm going to put 20 more hours in this week. I'm going to change my menu. I'm going to move things about. I'll get rid of this member of staff. I'll put that on there. I'll throw 400 quid on Google Ads. They end up like an octopus. They're doing too many things in one go, but they're not looking at how do you know why are you trying to fix something when you don't know what you need to fix? Is it your GP on the food? No, is it your GP on the bar? Is it your labour? Is it that you're spending 5 grand a month on non-consumables when you only need 2? And you're one of them people who goes, well, I'll just bulk buy it because it's a bit cheaper. Well, you haven't got the
oh
cash
yeah,
to
of
do it.
course.
Oh, mate, absolutely. I loathe that unless you've got the cash in the bank to do it. We've got one client at the moment who's just spent 30k on coffee cups. Why did you do that?
What,
Oh, I got
just in a
five.
grand?
Yeah, I'm like, I got 5% off. How much of that are you going to use in a month?
Yeah,
About 4 grand worth. You've bought 7.5 months worth of coffee cups that are going to get jammed on top of each other and destroyed so you can have 5% off. I'm like, what about your VAT bill next month? Oh, well, we'll just do it in installments again.
yeah. But you know, it's common. Like I've done that many a
Yeah.
time. Plus, it's very easy to not look at the broader and bigger picture. And I guess that's what I'll tell you what. Focusing on your business now, I think that's great that you've got this kind of foresight. Because I tell you what, I've never had an accountant that will be outright and tell me these kind of things, and I think that's huge. And I think your company's success is pretty much guaranteed if you can get more people to understand what it is that you provide as a service, like this kind of
Mm.
stuff. This is gold, particularly for the smaller places, medium places that don't have their own finance team, that don't have their own credit control, maybe bookkeeping. You know, people that outsource it too much and don't do things in house. You know, they're going to be a little bit lost, a bit of a ship without a rudder. And this kind of information and guidance is incredible. So, you know, that leads me on to with your business. I mean, Gareth, I mean, you know, talk about USPs and what makes you unique. What I see what makes you guys unique is clearly you're very, very involved in not just ticking the boxes as far as an accounting firm mostly does. Let's be honest, most accountancy firms, they've got many, many clients, and all they're going through is a checklist. Yeah, that's done, that's done, that's done. Here's your year end. Are you happy? Sign it. Yes, great. Bye. Move on. You know, and that's kind of become the norm. It really has, you know, in my experience. So how do you how do you how do you communicate what you do to your clients? How do you acquire clients then? How do you talk about these amazing kind of bonus points, if you like, that you offer as part of your package?
So again, because I suppose for us, we're in a unique position where, as far as I am aware, we're the only accountancy firm in the UK that only deals with hospitality. So we do rank all right on Google for one, but the majority of our new business comes from existing business. So the clients that we work with,
Yeah.
it's within my interest to see them grow and succeed. So just for a bit of a factoid, the average client life with an accountant is 7 years. For
Okay.
us, it's 3 or 4 because the average life of a hospitality business is 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's within my interest to make sure that they do succeed, because otherwise that's a horrible attrition rate. If I've got to
Yeah,
redo this,
absolutely.
yeah, year on year on year, all I've got to focus on is I need more, more and more. I don't want to focus on more, more and more. We look after a minimal client base of around about 50 companies. There's probably about 80 sites in there altogether, under 50 entities. And that's wonderful for us. I don't need to do any more than that. I want to help more, but that's an infrastructure problem on our part. But for me, the advice bit is the fun bit. It's the important bit. Don't get me wrong, getting your VAT return done on time, your payroll on time, your bookkeeping, your year
Sure.
end. Well, it's a
Oh, but
legal
that's all a
responsibility,
given,
isn't it?
isn't it? That's your
It's you.
list there taken
Yeah,
care
you've
of.
got to do it.
It's that added value you provide, I think that's gold. And I guess I'm just curious as well, like, because
No, no.
how do you advertise? Do you advertise? So on Google, you pay for Google AdWords, or you just
No.
because you talk about hospitality and accounting?
It's just we're sat up there because it's probably because there is only us. We don't advertise. Yeah, there is. Ours is, I see a lot coming through Instagram, if
Okay.
I'm honest. It's probably about 10 inquiries a week through Instagram.
Where?
I think we've got about 4,500 followers.
How did you get so many? And what do you do on Instagram? Do you post
Oh
it all
Christ.
day?
Honestly, that's you'll have to have a little. I know that you'll have the tags and everything to put up at
Yeah,
the
yeah, I'll have a
end.
look at it for sure.
So I've got a wonderful video on there by a guy called Howard Tinker that just seemed to set people off. It's a Marmite video. They either love it or hate it. So me and Howard's an author and some kind of advertising agency for hospitality over in Oz. I'm not going to give him any more of a plug than that because I don't get a fee. But we put an event on last year because what he's got is really insightful, and we did a very short thing on what are 3 things that a restaurant could do tomorrow to make a profit straight away, to improve profitability straight away. I don't remember what number 2 and 3 were. Number 1 was take table water off the table.
Uh-huh.
It was don't refuse it. Obviously, don't be a monster, but don't put it down. When somebody comes in, don't just go, "Do you want water? Do you want water for the table or fill glasses up?" It was the first thing you do when you bring people in and sit them down is give them that drinks menu, and that's it. I'll be back in 5 to take your drinks order. If they then ask for table water, brilliant, no issues. I'll be
Yeah,
right over.
yeah,
But
smart.
we've seen for the clients that were brave enough to implement that with us, we saw a 15% increase in wet sales. I'm not talking about just booze, but when you look at the comments on that, people either loved it or they completely hated it. But a lot of our following came from that. A couple of other bits that we did as well that I really enjoyed doing. So last year I think I did a dozen cook-offs in some of our clients' venues. I
Oh,
like
nice.
going back in the kitchen. So only 2 of them made it onto social media because the rest of them, there was too much swearing even for me. But what kind of works for me on that is, one, it's great content and it's a fun thing to do and a bit of a laugh. But for me, there is an actual working day in those. So part of me going in to do that cook-off is, okay, where is everything in the kitchen? What can we do to make life easier or to improve the flow of the kitchen or to increase capacity? So I was never the most creative chef when I was chefing. I was what you call a process chef. I can quite easily go into a kitchen or a restaurant and go, if I move that from there to there, I need to do 10 less steps. And all it's going to cost me is the gas engineer to come out, lengthen the gas hose at the back, well, fit a new hose to the back. It's going to cost me 150 quid. But I can then move this over here so I can stand on the pass and just
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
just move from left to right.
Efficiency.
So a lot of when you're talking about the USP side of things, yeah, we do all of the compliance stuff. Obviously, we do the management accounts as well. So we let people know where they are at
Yeah.
every single
Uh-huh.
month with, boring it with accountancy terminology, with the variance analysis and everything else, where they're up to with that and all stuff like that. I like it, but it is boring as sin, like with most accountancy stuff. I I'm one of the only accountancy practices that has a dedicated management accountant in the business. Reason is because they're so fucking expensive. It's an absolute specialism, but my management accountant has spent the last 15 years doing management accounts for pubs.
Nice.
So it
That's what
was
it's
a
doing.
perfect person to find for the role.
Nice.
So Wendy does a massive chunk of the advisory on that because she's done this for thousands of venues over her career. A lot of what I do now is it tends to be, I will go into the venues that we've got. We'll spend a day going over processes. We'll spend a day going over pricing. We'll look through the GP on every item that they've got on the menu to figure out what's wrong and where. We'll do some spot checks on menu items because you know it yourself from the business that you've got. The price that you're paying now and charging now might be very, very different in a week. And obviously you are not going to revise your menu pricing every single week.
Of
well,
course.
if you don't get me wrong, if you're a business doing 7 million a year, yeah, revise it every bloody week, spot check it every week at the very, very least. But most places don't. On average, when we speak to new clients joining us about how often they go in and look at this pricing and revise their theoretical GPs, they don't. It's once a year, maybe once a year. I mean, lemons at that point have gone from 30p to 80p to 20p to 90p and 10p again. So
Yeah. It's very difficult. Yeah, we
it's
kind of try and work on our law of averages because we deal with retailers, so we can't increase, decrease prices as, we can't fluctuate our pricing as we did with chefs, which was essentially in the past when I used to deal with restaurants, we would just add a margin to everything we've paid. So it's a very easy kind of GP to maintain. But these days, working retail is more like hospitality, where you kind of fix your menu oftentimes for at least a few weeks. And then, of course, the products you're buying do go up and down in price because the market value does change. There is seasonality. There are shortages in fish. Obviously, the weather. There's all kinds of factors that can affect availability and pricing. So it is very difficult to maintain that kind of GP regularly unless you're changing your menu more often.
So this one. I love this one. Obviously, I love it. It was my idea, but something we've implemented in 4 or 5 of our higher end restaurants, or rather help them to implement because I'm not going in and cooking 4 or 5 times a week. We looked at it and went, it's that exact issue. Unless we're changing this menu constantly, we're never going to know what our GP is all the time. Unless we're paying for software that does it, which there is stuff out there, but we've trialed it and it's not where it needs to be yet to be as valuable as the cost to benefit of it. So what we've trialed in some of these venues, it's worked really well. We've used our upper end restaurants as the trial basis because they tend to have, not in a rude way, the more creative chefs, the ones who want to flaunt about and make things but don't often have the time. So what we said was, how about we prep every Monday for the following Monday? Let's come up with 4 or 5 dishes that are only available on that Monday. Let's do them at set prices, almost like kind of like a specials menu for the day. Let's give customers little comment cards, and let's do it on the basis that, let's say our average mains price is 25 quid. Let's tell the customers that we are discounting this down to 16, 17 pound, give them a comment card to fill out, push them more towards them and tell them that we are only doing this on Monday. We've got 4 or 5 brand new dishes that we may never see again. We're just trialing out new menu options. Do that on a regular basis over the course of 3 weeks. You've built a menu. Over the course of a year, you've built a bank of things that you can constantly refer back to. But the catch is that when we're doing that, they have to weigh it out and write the spec as they are going. It's got to be costed there and then. So they have a designated time every Monday where they're costing 5 brand new dishes. Now, off the back of that, what we're finding is, because within any given kitchen, you're trying to limit the number of ingredients you're using, aren't you? Mainly for wastage, second for ease. So as they're going through it and going, I don't know, we're making parmentiers and 50 grams has cost me a pound. They'll then look at that and go, well, hang on, I know I've got that on this spec over here and I've only got that listed as 75p. So we're finding that on the basis of them having that time to be creative, they're then looking at those ingredients that they are already using across the menu and going, crap, that's well off that. And now I need to look at this one and revise it.
Okay, that's a really good idea. That's a really nice way to do it. That doesn't feel like it's labor intensive as such, and is achieving a hell of a lot. That's a genius.
Oh, that's
genius solution.
the thing, though. That is so much more faffing than looking at your existing dishes and going, right, I've got it down here that we're using 50 grams. Show me a portion, bang it on the scale. Let's look at the invoice. Doing that over the course of a day, you could run through your entire menu and find out what's wrong, but people don't do it. So we looked at it and went, what can we do that gets us 90% of the way there, still gets the chef to be creative, still gets the restaurant new dishes every week, still gets the new concepts in there every week, and gets us some specials out. And it was like, wow, this hits it doesn't solve the problem 100%, but it gets us 90% of the way there because they're then investigating the other parts of the menu that weren't right in the first place. And when they investigate it, If they then look at that dish as a whole where they found the 25p per portion wrong, they look at that dish as a whole and go, oh crap, I've not looked at prawns in 12 months or
No.
chicken. I can't sell this anymore. They've then just made 5 brand new dishes that are that are costed out at the right
Yeah.
GP that can
Yeah.
replace it.
Yeah,
We
so,
can,
so over time, you're basically funneling out all the stuff that's no longer working and introducing the stuff that's been actually carefully created with the current pricing and
yeah,
costings. Nice,
and you're repeating the process every week, so
nice. That's a
it
great idea.
doesn't. It's kind of like how you trick your kids eating vegetables. Put them on a pizza; they're going to
Hmm.
eat it anyway. So
Yeah,
we're doing
yeah,
not saying that chefs are kids, but well, I can say that I was one. We are temperamental children. It's a way of tricking chefs into doing that work that they want to do. It's not even a trick, mate. It's just, yeah, you want to be creative, go on. You've got a whole day there of
yeah,
doing it,
right.
but there's got to be some structure in it. And honestly, we are seeing the bottom line going up just as a result of faffing about with this. It's only been a couple of months, so we've still got a long way to go and time will tell. But it's had an immediate impact
No, I can see
on what
that.
we're doing.
And what are you doing to talk about that? Are you shouting about that? Are you doing anything on, so I guess what I'm trying to learn, Gareth, because it seems to me like you've got such a great business and a really nice formula. How are you communicating that to, because it sounds to me like every bloody restaurant in any hospitality kind of business needs to have a chat with you. What are you doing? Do you offer like free calls? Do you do anything on LinkedIn? Like, what do you do? Do you do any outreach on email? Like, how are you letting people know that you provide this on top of your basic accounting?
So we do have a mailing list in place that does go out on a very regular basis. However, I found that I like to change things far too much, that mailing list becomes very irrelevant very, very quickly. So it didn't work. A lot of stuff does go out on LinkedIn, but you know yourself, LinkedIn tends to be a bit more bougie, and my
Yeah,
client base isn't. A lot of them aren't on
yeah,
there. It tends to be Instagram. We jam a load of stuff out as frequently as possible. Every couple of months, we have a day of recording. Being very, very honest, we've not had one in a little while, just with school holidays and whatnot. But we try and get as much info out on Instagram as humanly possible. We also, last year, I think we ran 10 separate live events. They went up on Eventbrite. We do have a page on Eventbrite to follow, but they went up on Eventbrite. They went out to our entire mailing list. They went out on Instagram. They went to all our clients. The purpose behind these events is to bring topics like this to life. So what are the clients that we've got doing right now that's currently working really well? What suggestions have we put in place that have worked? What hasn't worked? Along with bringing in like various different speakers, like we've had Nori did one last year. We had a guy who runs Privilege HR come and talk about. It was boring, but it was also scary how much I don't know about HR. We've had a guy come in and talk about pensions, because that's a scary one to get wrong.
yeah,
If you get something wrong in your business, particularly in hospitality, it's going to be pensions, and it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. We even brought in a client where we took him on. It was too little too late. We took him on. It was already going down the pan,
yeah,
and there was no way of reviving it. But he was an amazing bloke. So he came and stood in front of everyone and told everyone what he'd done wrong, why it went to pot, and what he'd do better next time.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a nice
Yeah,
thing to do again, because failure teaches more than any success.
that's it. So we try and put a lot of live events on. We've had suppliers approach us to put live events on for them. We've had councils doing exactly the same. We are trying to work our way around to the bigger suppliers so that we can have more of an impact. Kind of like Big Food and Breaks.
Yeah,
But we did Birchall Food Service back in January. Then I went back again just to do something different and get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ourselves in front of those people. But two, I like the sound of my own voice, and our reach isn't big enough to provide the level of help that I want to help. I think we spoke about this when we first chatted on the phone, I think, and it was every business starts out with a goal, or business owner starts out with a goal, and it's usually to make your own life better. And if you do
Mhm.
well enough at that business, you can then have an altruistic goal. My wife and myself, my family, we're really comfortable now. We can have a lot of time off. Don't get me wrong, there are still the ups and downs. I'm at the point now
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
my own goals have become slightly more altruistic. I want to help hospitality, mate. I want to
No,
do what we can just to make the industry thrive. And with the client base that we've got now, we are genuinely helping them to do better. But that's 50 companies.
You want to
It's
get out there
full.
more.
Yeah,
So
it's
what's stopping you from it? What are your biggest hurdles, if you like, to reach that? What are your biggest kind of like bottlenecks as a business, first of all? So how, what's stopping you in your current business from having more time to spend on these kind of like longer, more fulfilling kind of tasks, if you like, that you want to achieve?
it is probably it sounds like a sales pitch, but it's not meant to. It is the level of service we provide. So we are the full finance function for so many businesses, but setting that up, it's not a 5-minute job. It's not like, not dismissing your current accountant because I know he's doing a great job, but you're the previous guys you've dealt with where you can ring up and go, right, I need an accountant. Can you do it? Yeah. All right, then. That's not our process at all. I've got to speak to these people. If somebody comes through the door, comes over the phone. We'll have a 45-minute, hour-long chat just about their business. I won't
Yeah,
quote, I won't give prices, anything like that. I want to see what kind of person they are, what kind of conversation we have. Don't get me wrong, I record it and transcribe all of it because so I can go back to it later on.
of course.
I've got to see if, one, we're a good fit for them, and two, they're a good fit for us. After that, we'll then have a look at their financial data. Can we actually have an impact? So we'll quite often ask for read-only access to all of Xero. But from that, we can also see how big the business is, number of employees, taxable volume, all of the boring back-end stuff that we need to build a picture for the
Of
compliance
course.
element and that kind of pricing. After that, if I look at it and go, you know what, we can have a massive impact on this, I'll do them a proposal, put a video together, and more often than not, we put a guarantee in place. Well, let's say, we're costing £15,000 a year as a ballpark figure. We'll look at that and go, we guarantee that in the next 6 months, we're going to find that 15 grand back, or we'll work the rest of the year for free.
Right.
So you're no worse off. You're going to get the same level of service, and we're going to carry on trying to find that money because I don't want the same thing to happen the following year.
Yeah, right.
To date, touch wood, we've never had to work for free. It's kind of the reason that we can't expand so far so fast is that discovery call process on its own, from call to checking the data to doing the proposal to setting the client up
Yeah.
to figuring out which person of my team is going to be best to work with them based on their personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole onboarding process and the amount of information that we gather at the beginning so that we're not having to do it 6 months down the line. That whole process can take us 3 months.
Blimey.
The individual elements of it on their own, even setting a client up on our internal systems, that's an entire day of putting that in place, not to mention the touch points that we have to have within those first 12 weeks. I might speak to that client once a week, an hour at a time. So by the time you've tallied it all up, I
That's a lot
can't
of
fit
hours.
all of that in.
Blimey.
So I know that I am a bottleneck. To get around that, I am currently in the process of hiring, I don't like the term practice manager, it's too accountancy, but the office manager, team manager to worry about a massive part of that onboarding bit, to help me with the day-to-day running of it, to deal with some of the client comms that don't need me, because at the moment I'm the bottleneck. A lot of it comes to my WhatsApp instead of the business WhatsApp.
Yeah, yeah.
So that person, I've done my calls. We're doing face-to-face interviews next week. So we'll hopefully have that in place within the next couple of months. But that has been the biggest blocker for me. I can't do the day-to-day and do the discovery bit and put events on and go and visit clients until
Yeah,
we've
it's
got
too
that
much.
in. Oh,
No,
Christ, mate,
I
yeah,
know. I know the feeling. It's exactly the same for me in the past. There's been like that. There are solutions though, and it sounds like you're putting some headway on there. In terms of like, so what you're saying is that it's not necessarily lack of clients, it's lack of time to kind of develop the clients that do come along.
that's
Or do you want
absolutely
more
it.
clients walking through the door as well? Is that another?
So it's probably a little bit of both. Having more people walking through the door would, yeah, it'd be lovely as it ever would. However, I don't like taking clients on unless I'm absolutely sure that we're the right fit for them, and just as importantly, they're the right fit with us. I don't want to work with somebody that I can't have a conversation with because and secondly, unless I know that we've got the resource there and then to take that client on, then I'm not going to do it. I've built this purely based on my reputation of how we work, who we look after, and how we do it.
Yeah.
I'm not ruining what I've put 5 years of my life into. Work out the number of working hours in it. It's 40 years in it. But
Mhm.
I'm not tarnishing what I've already built or risking it crumbling by being money hungry and just trying to bring people in for the sake of bringing them in.
Yeah.
Me
I
and my
get that.
wife, yeah, we don't need any more money than we've got. Don't get me wrong, more money is always nice. We're in no rush to jam people through the door unless we know that we're the right fit for them and they are for us. We do get a lot of inquiries coming through that we have to pass up on, either too small or too large. So in this past 2 months, we've had 3 larger international companies approach us saying, like, we're opening up in the UK. You deal with it for us. We were starting with 5 sites and want to move through to 20 in 5 years' time. And I've looked at it and gone, no,
Yeah.
I haven't got the infrastructure to do that, which is sad, but not at the same time. I wouldn't want to take that on just to grab the cash and then do a disservice to the clients that we've already
Yeah.
got in there. We don't typically take on anything below 400,000 a year because, being truthfully honest, mate, we are expensive. If you compare us just to another accountant, we're expensive. Obviously, we're not like
Well,
for like,
from the
but
sound of it, maybe expensive, you're doing yourself a disservice. Maybe what you are is you provide a more comprehensive package that's got a higher price tag.
oh yeah, for me, it's the word I use to describe it when I'm speaking to somebody I know and we've had these conversations already is it's value. We provide value. It's just most people misconstrue value with, Asda versus Waitrose.
Yeah.
Asda provides more value. Well, does it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, we provide a valuable service. It's a premium end that you don't get with another accountant because there is nobody else doing
Yeah.
in what we do. And I forgot how we got on to that point. I'm really sorry.
Well, I mean, look, I think we're running out of time actually now, Gareth. But I've really, really enjoyed this conversation, and I guess it'd be nice to kind of put a finishing kind of statement on here. So, what do you want to communicate? I guess, like, what's the kind of most important take home for you with what you do, the businesses you deal with? What do you want to finish this off with?
Finishing it off, sorry, edit that out. Sorry, Christ on a bike, mate. That's gone down the toilet really quick then, didn't it? No, I'm so sorry. To finishing it off, 3 main things that I'd be pointing out is one, you need, as a restaurant owner or hotel owner, whatever, you need to know what your numbers are. If we have a conversation and I ask you what your GP is, you've got to know your GP. You've got to know your turnover. You have to know where every pound in your business is going. That is your job. It's your responsibility. You
Yeah,
may think that jumping into the kitchen to help out as and when is needed is your
yeah,
responsibility. It's not. It's your responsibility to make sure that business functions. You might have 20 people working under you that rely on you to run that business, to make sure it's profitable. If you are not sure whether or not you are profitable or you are struggling with cash flow, then that's the point you have to ring me up and have a chat.
yeah,
If we can help and we're the right fit, absolutely we're going to help. But if not, we'll find you someone that is, and we'll at the very least help you to put a couple of things in place over the phone so you can at least start working towards what you need to work towards.
yeah.
We don't, like Father Christmas, mate, I don't leave anybody empty handed.
What's number 2?
That was probably 1, 2, and 3 all rolled into one, wasn't it?
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Sorry, mate.
You don't
I,
mess around, do you?
no, I love what I do, mate. I've spent the last 5 years hiring people that are better than me to do the compliance bit and the bit in the background, so I can do the bit that I am better than anybody else at, which is speaking with restaurant owners and telling them what to put into place, when to put it into place, and how to, and most importantly, how to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
Yeah, no, I think, yeah,
yeah.
you've really given me a lot of food for thought, actually. I think it's great that out there is, an option that's more than just employing any old accountant or even bookkeeping for that matter. You got you out there that's actually able to not only do the day-to-day checklists of what an accounting account firm might do, but you can actually really significantly help businesses kind of like do better in what they're doing with very simple, very easy to apply principles. And your idea of the menu ideas to kind of get them thinking about costings and looking at the whole menu over time is genius. So I think, like, I really hope you get plenty of business out of this. I think any restaurant out there would be silly not to at least have a chat with you and see what you can do for them.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, mate. I suppose the last point on that I don't know if I brought up is our success is tied to yours. We're not one and done, do the year end, get out. We rely on monthly recurring revenue. If your business isn't performing, our business shuts. It's as simple as.
Yeah.
It's within my interest and and my passion to make sure that you do well, because without you, there is no us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way to finish up, Gareth. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I really hope this conversation's helped other people out there, or at the very least sparked something that's going to create meaningful change in their businesses.
No, I hope so too. And yeah, thanks, Sebastian. Thank you for having me. It's been
No worries.
lovely.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Gareth. I'm
Cheers,
just gonna
buddy.